The Western media has a lot of negative coverage on the Belt and Road Initiative. What China should do is to let the other countries speak out and explain to the West they were not forced to accept Chinese assistance. Well, I think the Western media has unfortunately not developed objective ways of reporting what China is doing. So, for example, the Western media has a lot of negative coverage on the Belt and Road Initiative that China has launched. And they say, and I've discussed this in many of my articles, they claim that China is engaging in debt trap diplomacy. That's the word that the Western media uses against China. But if you look at it objectively, countries are free to choose whether or not to join or not join the Belt and Road Initiative. So some countries haven't joined. Japan hasn't joined. India hasn't joined. So they are free not to join. But a large number of countries have voluntarily chosen to join the Belt and Road Initiative. So the 10 ASEAN countries have done so. Some European countries like Italy, Germany, and to some extent UK have done so. So there's freedom of choice. So I think what the Western media should do is to report on both the countries that have refused to join and the countries that have decided to join, because there are different points of view here. I think one of China's biggest strengths is that it is a country with a lot of patience. Your history is over 4,000 years old compared to the United States, which is less than 250 years old. So the big asset that China has is that it has a lot of patience. So I think we are right now in the middle of the crisis, and many countries are reacting emotionally rather than rationally to this crisis. So there'll be wild accusations being made against China. I think China can ignore them and allow countries to choose whether or not they want to get Chinese assistance or they don't want to get Chinese assistance. It is a voluntary thing. China cannot force any country to accept either masks or ventilators or personal protection equipment. Countries choose whether or not they want to have it or not have it. And so what China should do is to let the other countries speak out and explain to the West that it is they who decided to ask China for assistance and that they were not forced to accept Chinese assistance. Well, I had the privilege of serving on the UN Security Council when Singapore was a member in the years 2001, 2002. And I was president of the UN Security Council twice, in January 2001 and May 2002. And one thing I learned as the president of the UN Security Council is that the president of the Security Council is not a dictator. He cannot decide anything. Indeed, if there are 15 members, so let's say there are 15 members and Singapore's one, if the 14 other members want to have a meeting of the UN Security Council, the president of the Security Council cannot stop that meeting because there are rules of procedure that guarantee this. So it's at the end of the day, it is the members who decide when the Security Council should meet and what the Security Council should discuss. Also, at the same time, COVID-19 is not a crisis of international security that should be addressed by the UN Security Council. It's a health crisis that should be addressed by the World Health Organization.